StarTag works as opposed to the iPhone 1, which had dropped calls constantly. And the only reason that it made it out of that water is that AT&T took the hit for it, right? It was an Apple technological problem, but every time everyone said, oh, this iPhone sucks, it keeps losing calls, Apple would say, oh, that's AT&T's fault. And AT&T was too tongue-tied to do anything about it. But in fact, that's how Apple kind of got past the point of having actually a very unreliable iPhone 1 to eventually better quality iPhone 2, 3, 4, 5. But we have this dilemma zone, at which point you have to say, look, I'm willing to try a lower quality product, right? Because I know in the long run, it'll be better if I'm one of the experts who's using this better quality product. And then that other mature technology is not going to get any better. Eventually, I'm going to abandon it, and everyone will abandon it. Okay? So from the user perspective, there is this zone in between, where if you're a new technology that's out there, you could be one of the people that's willing to try the new technology and suffer the performance loss in exchange for being one of the early adopters, right? Or you could be one of the people who comes and adopts it later. But from a producer standpoint, right, that new technology is eventually going to pass, right? So your Motorola, here you're laughing at the iPhone. You're saying, I got this awesome StarTag, right? I don't know why anybody would switch to it, and guess what happens? Everyone zooms past it, and now all of a sudden, Motorola is a has-been, right? Because they're not making the product that everybody else wants, right? Say again?
It's not a has-been, it's a never was.
It's a never was. I would disagree. You're that's being dramatic about their has-beens. You never had a Motorola, but I can assure you.
I still love Motorola's.
There are enough people who did that I would quibble to that comment, right? So now let's look at the producer perspective. What's the actual mechanism by which this occurs, right? So we have here the notion from the users, right? Some people are going to jump and are willing to take the lower technology. But for the producers, what's going on? We have this technology, and technology helps people accomplish certain things, period. Right? For some people, it's really helpful. For some people, it's modestly helpful. And now some new technology comes along, and it's not very good. Well, who ends up adopting that new technology first? It's actually people for whom the old technology doesn't really help that much, right? So the old technology is not very good for your performance. A new technology comes and you say, you know what? This is better than whatever exists currently, but you're not the core user. So for the technology producers, it's not your best customers that are the good signal. It's your worst customers. It's your customers you don't really care about that much, who are the first ones to try other products. The people who are buying Motorola's, who love Motorola's, they're not the ones who are switching to iPhones. It's the people who don't really love that Motorola that much anyway. And Motorola is sitting there going, I don't like, whatever. We have customers who don't like us that much. Now they're leaving. Fine, they don't like us that much. But in fact, that was the canary in the coal mine. Because now the performance is improving.
Did you say now?
Say again?
Now there's a canary?
A canary in the coal mine?
Never heard that.
You've never heard the expression canary in the coal mine?
No.
So here's how it works. Back in the days, apparently, I don't know if this is true or not.
How does it go in Yiddish?
Canary in the coal mine, that's weird.
That's the original Yiddish.
I do not know this for a fact. I only know what I think to be the source of the idiom is that canaries apparently die very easily, and so coal miners would bring them into their mines, and if the canary died, they would say, "Oh, this is a warning that there's toxic fumes here. We better all get out." And then they do. So the canary in the coal mine becomes this like harbinger that they're
very sad.
It is very sad, and so every now and then it's sad, but that's what they use.
We'll continue to use it until all canaries are extinct.
Right. That's it. I've heard people use the, not to be geopolitical in here, but to say, we have to support Israel because Israel is the canary in the coal mine against the Islamic world, right?
Let's keep this
No, but in all seriousness, the notion of saying, aha, here is this country, if we ignore it, right, it's at our peril, at us America, right? So, just like the canary is this like weak little creature that's going to die, right? Israel, if you let this like small, irrelevant Middle Eastern country the size of New Jersey, fledgling democracy die, you're not letting its fledgling democracy die. You are ignoring, what's going to eventually attack the rest of the world. So if you Google Israel and there's a canary in the coal mine, it's a very common argument about why Israel's so important and why the rest of the world should care about this otherwise teeny country in the Middle East. But that's enough being geopolitical. Okay, new technology comes, performance improves. The technology improves in part because it has customers, and now the performance surpasses even for the best technology. And now Motorola is sitting there looking, going, what just happened? Now our best customers are leaving us for the iPhone. yesterday the iPhone sucked, and now the iPhone is better than anything we could possibly come up with, because our best customers are coming to realize and saying, you know what, the iPhone's actually gotten pretty good, it's worth switching. And they do. And that's how technologies get shifted. Now, there is a dilemma here. This is known as the Innovator's Dilemma. It's a great book by Clay Christensen called The Innovator's Dilemma if you're interested in technology. The dilemma is, if you're a producer, when do you switch? You switch too early, right? If Motorola started making smartphones, then all of the loyal customers are going to say, what are you doing here? You're abandoning us. And if they switch too late, they're already behind from whatever the iPhone has been coming together. So, in a sense, it's a lose-lose situation. Some companies are able to do it, but usually they can't. Yeah?
Just depends on when.
Yeah, if you're lucky. If you're lucky, if it's doable. Okay? So let's talk about Cree. Right? And when we talk about Cree, we're going to very much think about, again, the same arguments here, but we're going to talk about light bulbs. And let's just talk about us in terms of personal, how we buy light bulbs in life, right? And we'll talk about, and some of you may not even buy light bulbs in life, and now we'll see exactly why it's such a complicated issue.
But people used to buy
But,
them?
yeah, I buy light bulbs. You don't buy light bulbs? All right. So, which market should Cree pursue? This isn't the case. Should they do the backlighting market, the general residential market, the municipal commercial industrial market? And by the way, there's also a cost forecasting issue about, which we'll get to, about understanding about how whatever assumption we make, right, with Husky, you have these very clear numbers of here's exactly how much everything costs. But it turns out if costs change every year, it becomes that much harder to calculate the ones to pay. But let's start with a very simple calculation. And here's where I want you to go and rebuild this on your spreadsheet in front of you. So start by copying these numbers in front of you, and leave blanks for everywhere where it's blanked, and then calculate. Right. So first copy this, and then all the blanks write out, and I'll work on the blanks over here. Okay, you have all the numbers copied?
Yeah.
It's
Close.
not, I'm gonna use it on my phone because it's not charging.
You,
It's charging
It
because.
might be a little too tricky on the phone.
No, I mean, it's the only way.
It's not a dumb problem.
Okay, let me see. It's charged enough to give me a
I want to take this off the screen because I want to pull up my model in a moment. So, anybody still just copying these numbers? Copying these?
Yeah.
Copy? Okay, fine. I'll wait.
Fingers are fast, but
Now you have in this basically a quasi-fixed cost and a quasi-variable cost. And by quasi-fixed, I mean the cost of the bulb. And quasi-variable is the cost of electricity. Now I say quasi-fixed because you buy more than one bulb, right? So that's why it's not quite as fixed as it would sound, but it's enough to at least get yourself started.
Is it in a box of two?
Say again?
2 or 4? Or 6?
Good point. Let's do just one light bulb at a time.
One light-
No, excellent assumption. Totally worth spreading out, but for the moment, we'll just do one light bulb per purchase.
I don't know, I've never really bought just one light bulb. It's normally 2 or 4.
I thought you were
or
going to tell you
6.
never change a light bulb.
I did.
Start with the one. Okay. You have everything out there?
I do.
Good. No, you have everything up there? Well, you have everything up there?
Mine is what's running on there.
Good. So fill out the rest of the sheet, and I'm just going to pull up my answer key here. But I want to do it without...
Hold on, can you just go back for 1 second?
Thinking.
You were shaking.
Yeah, I took a picture of it. I'll just.
Okay.
old school, the oldest ones that we had. That was really what?
River.
River.
We lost.
I don't think.
All right.
I don't.
Has everyone solved it?
Oh, what are we supposed to be
No,
filling
No,
in?
fill in the whole table.
Oh,
I've given you all the inputs. You should be able to figure out the outputs.
Is that the power consumption? Is that in kilowatts?
The power consumption is in kilowatts. No, sorry, it's in watts. It's in watts, not kilowatts.
Oh.
Right, a single bulb is 60 watts.
Got it.
Come on.
Cost per 50
yeah,
then.
per.
Cost
So
per.
it's cost times.
Um,
What are you doing? Kilowatts per.
So you-
Okay.
This is now just what your spreadsheet would look like. I put in an extra line, slightly different from yours. And it's not, but materially it's the same thing. Okay. Should have something that looks more or less like this, except I'll put up the answers in a moment. But roughly, let's start with the variable cost here. All right?
Oh, I just.
So do you have something in the order of how much a light bulb should cost to operate from a power standpoint for 1,000 hours and 50,000 hours? Right? Do you have something, you have answers that look like this, and if not, let me walk around.
Cost times the
Okay.
50,000.
Say again?
Cost times the 1,000 of hours.
Correct. So if let's just think about the arithmetic, right? If this uses 60 watts in an hour, and a kilowatt hour is 15 cents, then how much would it cost to run for 1,000 hours?
1,000 times 15 times 60 times 15 cents.
Which is what? $9. Unfortunately, this will involve a little squinting. No, put it this way actually.
Is that true?
1,000 times 50 times what?
Yeah.
1,000 times 60 times 15 cents.
It's $9.
I
You,
need to do
you may have
$1,000.
$9,000. Do you have $9,000?
Yeah.
Right, because you have it's per watt, not per kilowatt.
It's just, yeah.
You could do divided by 1,000 times 1,000, and you have the right answer.
Wait, I'm so confused.
Because it's 60 watts, but 15 cents per kilowatt. So it's really 15 cents per 1,000 hours, right?
That's a different example.
Nope, this is our example.
How come we don't have 1,000?
We didn't have 1,000 in it.
No, what do we have here? Here I said cost per 50,000. So how do you get the cost per 50,000?
Are you going to do
Divided,
1,000?
no, divided by 50.
Right?
Times it by 50.
It's not just times by 50. Right, you got it, right? If I can do cost per 1,000 and get cost of 50,000. I added an extra line in here to
Oh, wow.
help us derive
Wait, what's
that.
the formula in B5?
In B5 here,
Power consumption times cost per kilowatt.
right? This is, right, let's just do this one here first. Cost per 1,000 hours here, right? If it's 60 watts,
But if we didn't do that, how would we get?
you would do 60 times 15 times 50 will get you $450. Right? If you're off, right, if you're off by a factor of 1,000, then it's 16 times 15 cents times 1,000 divided by 1,000. You get the same answer. times 50 hours.
That's 50,000.
The issue, if you're off by a factor of 1,000, the issue is just you're converting between watts and kilowatts. Because 1 watt is 1,000 kilowatts. So here we have 60 watts, 15, 0.15 cents per kilowatt hour, and there's 1,000 kilowatts per watt. Right, so that's going to get me 60 times 15 times 1,000 is going to be for 1,000 hours. Right, it's going to be right here 9. I picked 50,000 for a reason, by the way. It'll make sense for later. The cost per 1,000 hours is going to be $9 once you do 60 watts, 15 cents per kilowatt hours, 1,000 kilowatts, so 1,000 watts per kilowatt. And then hours per 1,000 hours. So whatever you do, you're going to have 1,000 divided by times 1 over 1,000. So these end up canceling each other out. So it's slightly confusing. Right. And then I want to get to 50,000 hours, just multiply times 50, you get to 450 hours. Does everyone get 450 for that cell right there? Now, we get the same thing for how much does it cost to operate a CFL? $105. And how much does it cost to operate an LED? $52.50. Good. That's the variable cost. Now what about the quasi? Say again? Say again?
Cheap.
It's cheap, but that's on the variable side. Remember, how much does the bulb cost? Right? So let's factor that
Yeah,
in.
but then you have the lifespan.
Good.
So,
I deleted that, and that was a flash of the answer. Now figure out the answer for yourself.
Well, the bulb costs $1.12, right?
Right?
Isn't it
But it
50,000 divided by the lifespan?
Yeah, that's how many bulbs you can get. So to light up a room for 50,000 hours, you're going to have to buy a new bulb here every 25,000 hours, here every 7,500 hours, and here every 1,500 hours. So how many bulbs are you going to need? How many incandescent bulbs?
33.
33, good.
0.33
And how much does the 33.33 bulbs cost?
times 100.
Times $1.12,
37,
Right.
33.
which is $37. So your net cost here, you should get this amount. Now the good news, I'm not revealing anything. This is exactly the numbers that are in Exhibit 8. I want to show how these would arrive at. Right? $487 is your operating cost for 50,000 hours between replacing bulbs and paying for electricity. Now,
Wow, I didn't
You have to change your light
realize
fixture.
it.
say again?
You have to change the fixture.
Is it change the bulb or the fixture? The fixture.
The
bulb.
no, fixture.
You mean like buying a lamp?
Yeah.
Right, these are structured
No,
bulbs.
just think about it. The LED bulb just screws in exactly where the old one is.
Sure.
Yeah. No, you're raising exactly the point we should be asked next. But
If
saying
you did have to change, then you'd be in trouble because then you've got to add in more costs.
I know.
50,000.
so now.
With you, why are you saying you know?
Okay. So given
This is okay.
right, given this, which of these bulbs would you buy?
The LED,
You buy the LED. Okay. Why?
Thank you, Alcohol.
because it costs less overall.
No.
Well, it costs less for
No,
what?
when
My
you walk
total
into the
cost
shop,
will be less if all these things are real numbers.
It depends
for
how
me.
much money you have at the moment.
Aha. So we have
With the
cash
$10.
considerations. We have cash considerations.
into a shop
If I'm thinking
What
long
else?
term,
How many hours is 50,000 hours?
thought $10 was expensive.
Berserker's gonna walk into a shop and spend $50 on clothes.
I'll tell you who.
Management companies.
Berserk.
Okay. Hold on a second. Who?
Management companies.
Okay. Good. So now let me ask Melanie.
And
You
you know-
said it's a no-brainer to spend $50 on
it's
light bulb, right?
5.7 years.
Right.
You also said in the
5.7
footnote.
years of wait.
Of
What's 5.7 years?
light bulb. Well,
50,000
so just
hours.
50,000 divided by 24 hours in a day.
Wait, you have a light bulb on 24 hours a day?
Yes.
In the refrigerator.
That's not how it's
also not true.
Yeah, they close
It
it.
said in the footnote Harvard Business School did buy the light bulbs.
Yes, but again, you
So that will
don't.
last me 17 years if I'm using it 8 hours of the day.
Right. So now let me ask you a
Basically,
basic
it was due
question.
to a common.
All right, Melanie, you live in a rental, right?
Yeah.
So you're gonna spend $50 on your landlord's thing, and you're gonna be there for 17 years to make it worth it?
No, I won't. I'll buy the $1.12 light bulb.
Right, exactly.
See, I told you.
So now,
Okay, that's what I do now.
right? So now we have certain things that come into play. So here I am. I'm a private. I'm a homeowner, and I'm gonna, I'm cash intelligent, and I'm also
Frugal.
wealthy enough that cash considerations don't come into play, but frugal enough that I care about long-term value. There, I'm going to buy the LED bulb, right?
Unless I have cash flow.
Right. Again, right? Assuming no cash flow. But now we're already inserting some factors that would come into play. So, like, look, we built this like perfect model. How come everyone isn't buying our light
Well,
bulb?
there's also a difference in what we're acknowledging, which is there's a difference to
In the product.
the display.
Yes, in the product
Hang
itself.
on, there's also a lot of skepticism because we all know that when you put a light bulb in, sometimes as you turn on the globe, the thing just glows.
Right.
You're like, I'm not risking $50 on that.
Excellent, excellent. So we have another issue,
No,
which
you
is the
were
risk of
trying.
the product, right? You buy 10, I have in my kitchen, and this hurt, 16 light bulbs.
Whoa.
I bought LEDs, it's not a big deal. It's like a room like this. This has, 24. I mean, it seems like a big number, right? 16 light bulbs. And I said, you know what? I'm looking here for a while. I'm going to buy LEDs. And one of them didn't work. Right? I mean, it worked for like 6 months, and then poof. These bulbs are supposed to last 10 years. Poof. Now all of a sudden I'm out. Now back this is
Where'd you
$50
buy it?
at the time of the case. But say again.
Where'd you buy it?
I don't remember, but it was yes, but it was already 7 months later.
I've installed 185 feet of LED in my kitchen. I already replaced 24. 2 strips.
185 feet of LEDs.
So when we look at the cost per bulb, by the way, here is another model. Let's now, right?
Haven't done anything. Haven't done anything.
Is he dancing with the
Let's now look and say, let's build this model a little bit more carefully. Okay? Now I want you to say, right, as clearly as it was to say, we know for sure that if you're going to own this bulb for 50,000 hours or 17 years, and assuming it works precisely the number of hours it's supposed to work, and that it doesn't have any defective things, and you don't drop it, and you don't have any cash flow issues, for sure at year 50 it becomes worth it that the LED is there most of all. But now, just for kicks, and also just to understand the sensitivities, right? What type of customer, right? This is a model that I built, but you're going to rebuild it yourself in about a minute, right? If this is if you're dealing with, let's say, someone or some situation where you're only going to have it for 1,000 hours, right? What's that going to tell you that the cheapest option is? The incandescent, right?
Yes.
Because we're going to buy something. If you're in a rental, right? You're going to live there for a few months and you're leaving.
You need to take.
Yeah. That's what this takes into account.
Well, I care how much electricity he's buying.
Well, no. But if you're in an apartment where you pay the electric,
Okay.
right? I'm not talking about in a hotel room, perhaps, right?
Hotel rooms.
where you're replacing the light bulbs for the hotel for the Marriott, right? But in this type of model, now I'd like to just for everything that we rebuilt on this previous page, right? I want you now to. Yep. I want you now to rebuild it to say, to give me a per hour chart, right? In other words, for the first 1,000 hours, the second 1,000 hours, third 1,000, and so forth.
How
Okay?
many hours? I mean,
Right,
what do you want? Up to what?
Say again? Up to 50,000, right? So, in other words, you're ultimately going to build the formulae that came up with
So why
this
didn't you
chart.
divide?
Say again? Why don't you divide? So I'll give you not a hint, but the first basic logic. Let's say you're going to go somewhere and you're going to use a bulb for an hour. How much is that going to cost you? Right? It's going to cost you almost zero, but 15 cents per kilowatt hour, which is 0.00015 for the electricity. But it's going to cost you $50 for the bulb, which is
So
$1.12.
the LED only works in the long run. It's that same thing that we spoke about with Husky, that it only works well with volume.
Right. It only works well for the type of customer for whom long run is a consideration.
Owners.
Right? Owners, for sure, right? And there's a separate issue here that we didn't model, which you touched on a little bit before, which is how much does it cost to change a lamp bulb? Right? You're a homeowner, You go, you change your light bulb, it's fine, right? Think of someone who owns, right? The example I read recently, like in the Empire State Building, there's probably somebody whose full-time job is just to change light bulbs, right? It's that many light bulbs, but it's not really quite like that. But if you think about, let's say, let's look at a different model. Let me just show you the model I built for this, and I will post this because it's worth seeing. Okay. So here, I want you to look at this model right here. So incandescent, CFL and LED, right? If you were to buy something for 0 hours, right, you're going to have to spend $1.12 in the bulb, and so on and so forth. If you were to operate for 1,000 hours, already you're spending $9 in incandescent. You know, another
Fixed cost plus the variable
right,
cost.
it's the fixed cost plus the variable cost, but in a way that accounts for the quasi-fixedness of the cost of a bulb, right? Because we now say if this LED bulb is worth 25,000 hours, what it says is that hour 26,000, which let me just scroll down to 26, right? You're going to see a big fat jump in the cost structure, right?
Shame you only need 2 light bulbs for that whole 50,000 hours.
Yeah. That's the idea. You're buying a bulb and you're never going to have to change it. Not never, but once in 17 years.
Now, how do you use 2/3 of a light bulb?
You don't. You have to
Oh,
pay
you
the full cost.
do? You can throw it away? Oh, you mean?
Yeah, you're right. You use
cut
it
you cut it in 3.
with a very careful set of
No,
scissors. Yeah. But
I doubt there's anybody that.
say again.
I doubt there's anybody who uses the light incandescent light bulbs for heat.
Yeah, we're discounting heat. In fact, if anything, if you are sitting there trying to figure this out for your own homes, they do try to eventually say, by the way, think of how much your air conditioning bill will go down incrementally because you don't have to cool off those incandescents that you've been heating your apartment with over the summer. Very hard to think about that this week. But if you look at the cost per bulb model, looked at over time, is what you're going to see here, right? This is some of the things we talked about before, right? Why did some people buy one kind of light bulb instead of another? Psychological issues, demographic issues,
But now
cash
that I'm
outlay
thinking about it,
issues.
how are they making money
Who?
if they have to change it over 17 years? That's not a smart thing to do.
Excellent question. We're going to come back to that in a minute. Right?
Then,
Payback time.
If everybody
It always
buys
breaks.
it,
It always breaks before that.
it doesn't matter if it's
No.
still guaranteed to do it all 10
There's
years.
enough light bulbs out there that new products, right? If you're right, if we live in
The
a static
backlighting,
environment,
yeah, but if you're talking about electronics constantly needing LED backlighting, that I
as
can-
a thought exercise, what if one were to invent a light bulb that never burnt out? What would happen, right?
I mean,
That's
they
it.
would go past-
There's no market for replacements anymore. Period. Right. So the only market is on new home construction, new products, do nothing. Not
But is it impossible?
It probably will be
I don't know.
soon.
I mean, I'm not a technology person, but
If there are 17,
LED. I mean, if LED, you can get an LED last 17 years. Why can't you get an LED last
50.
50? I don't know. I mean, at some point you do get a cap in order the technology can come with, but we said the same thing with incandescents. Incandescents couldn't get any more efficient than they were. I mean, LED is a completely different technology that makes it happen. And so LED also probably has a cap, but I don't know because I'm not an engineer, right? And by the way, there's this price stability issue, right? So you don't want to lay out $50 for a light bulb. So guess what? How much does an LED cost today? I mean, you've just been doing it, right? How much does an LED bulb cost?
I paid for a strip, for an LED strip itself. I paid, I think, $30.
Yeah. So it's $30. I mean, for a bulb, I would pay for like this one, be close to about $20, $25, maybe even
I
15.
spent for LED lighting itself close to $2,000.
Sounds like a lot of money, but
Where?
think of how much you
Your
save
house?
on electricity. Think of how much he saves on electricity. And think of how much he's already paying the electric company. Right? Right? So now let's come to a different calculus here. Right? Not how much would you spend on the light bulb. Using your same spreadsheet, just think about the cost levers here. Which bulb would the city of Boston buy? Right? So it's municipal market.
Well, we said that they don't want to change that often, so they want the LEDs.
Right? Why not?
Because there's other factors that come into
Good.
the change.
Itemize.
There's the cost of the police,
Right.
they want to block off the lane.
Excellent. Good. What else?
It
The
depends on
cost
where
of the
there's
actual
North
guy.
Carolina.
Yeah, there's a, yeah,
Change
exactly right.
it,
There's the
and
labor,
there's
there's the
the risk,
structure.
like,
Labor's more
insurance.
expensive there than elsewhere.
Oh, they steal it.
Well, it's for labor,
Why not?
so
Like-
labor versus doing nothing at all.
Like 2 months of the year it snows so much they wouldn't be able to get there.
Right,
so-
Yeah, but one,
And all the accidents would occur because the
Yeah.
light bulb burns out.
they have
So
to
there's no
close streets
electric-
down.
Yeah. And by the way,
Except
why
for
didn't
sleeping
Boston
pills.
use the CFLs? Older technology, but just as cheap. Why not? Right?
Like
Just for the
spin.
change.
They
Say
don't-
again?
I don't know, they don't look nice.
They're ugly.
They don't look nice, but like when you're behind a red or amber shield, is that a problem? No, what happens when you turn on a CFL? Does it work right away?